Hello, fourth graders. I'm excited that I have the opportunity to send some art projects your way. I'm Mrs. Rushton and I am the art teacher. Normally I'm in the studio at UDA, but right now I'm here at my home studio. So welcome and thanks for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and give you a video right now that is a tutorial on your first art project. I love making these videos, so it works perfect when you're at home. This first art project has your name in it. And I always like to start our first project with your name so that not only do I get an introduction to your art, but I get to know your name at the same time. So go ahead, follow along, watch the process, and enjoy. The first thing you need to do is gather your supplies. You'll need a pencil, crayons, watercolors if you have them. If you don't and you have some markers, grab some markers and foil, and hopefully you have a brush and of course a water cup. Now grab your pencil and we're going to start by drawing two wavy lines across our paper. Make sure they're not zigzags or too wild, just two wavy lines. That's going to create 3 sections on our paper. 1, 2, 3. Next step is to start writing the letters of your name. Each of your letters needs to be big and touch the top edge of the paper and the wavy line. And I don't mean just close to the top edge of your paper or close to the wavy line, but they are actually touching. I'm going to do that for each letter, making sure I'm spreading my letters out across the 3 sections. Now, if you have a really short name, you might consider using both your first and your last name, or maybe your first and your middle name. Make sure it's enough that you can fill up the 3 different sections of the paper. Now grab a black crayon or a black Sharpie, but not a regular black marker. And you're going to go over those lines you just created. I like to go over them a couple of times to make sure they're really thick. We want these letters and the wavy lines to stand out and be bold. Next, you're going to need other colors of the crayons. We're going to use the crayons to add line patterns in each of the shapes that we created when we drew our names. As you can see from the straight line of my R, I've created this kind of long rectangle shape right on the edge of my paper. So I'm going to take this green crayon and I'm going to create a zigzag pattern. So I keep the same color and I fill in that entire section with the green. Next, I'm going to get a different color and I'm going to go to a different shape. So let's see, I'm going to grab a purple and I'm going to work inside of the, I guess, circle shape of my R. And I'm just kind of outlining that shape to create a line pattern. There's lots and lots of different kinds of line patterns you can create, and the ones I'm doing are just a few examples, but you can get super creative with this as long as you are filling in that shape completely with a line pattern. So now I'm doing kind of a fish scale, doing little U's that connect across this shape, and they all touch top to bottom. That's a fish scale pattern. Now I have this really big shape between the R and the U, and I did just straight diagonal lines to fill that in. Now you can see I'm moving super fast now. I am the world's fastest drawer. No, just kidding. I like to use fast speed on video editing. All right, slow it down. Last shape to fill in. I'm going to use this blue crayon and do a swirl that just keeps on going around and around until that last shape is completely filled in. The next step is to paint in the areas using watercolor, but I'm going to show you this super cool technique that I just learned if you do not have watercolors. So if you have some markers, washable markers, and a piece of foil, if you take that marker and you just color on the foil, color in a whole section on the foil, and then you take a brush with just some clean water, make sure your brush is nice and clean, and you pick up some of that marker, kind of mixing it in with the water of your brush. So kind of mix it, swirl it right there. You can pick that color up and use it on your paper just like watercolor. Oh, and the video doesn't show you too well, but it totally worked. So that's what you're going to do if you do not have an actual set of watercolor paints at home, which is totally fine. Now, if you do have a set of watercolor paints, I would suggest using those. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our water and we're going to make sure we wake up our watercolors by adding a drop of water, giving it a nice swirl, wake up that color. We're going to take that, make sure it's nice and liquidy, and we're going to start to paint in each of the sections or each of the shapes that we filled in with our line patterns. You're not going to take that brush and just sweep it across the whole paper. No, no, no. You're going to keep it specific in the shapes that were created when we drew our letters. All right, so what we're doing is called watercolor resist. And that works because the crayon is made up of a really waxy material, and the watercolor has a lot of water, and that water does not like to stick to the waxy crayon. And so if you keep your watercolors really liquidy and you don't work that watercolor a bunch, so I don't want to see you scrubbing it onto your paper, just a quick swipe of the paintbrush laid over where you drew with the crayon, you'll see that that watercolor will just start to split and fall off of the crown areas. And some colors work better than others. Some, it doesn't have as good of an effect, but you can see like the purple over that orange zigzag was awesome. So go ahead and do this over the entire paper, painting over each of those shapes you created. All right, friends, there you have it. That is our first art project, our name design. Congratulations on completing a beautiful piece of art.